What's up everyone, welcome back to another exciting Art of War video. I'm super hyped for this video because I'm going to be talking about new rules from Codex Genestealer cults. There's been some awesome content that's coming up soon. There's been some awesome rules previewed on the Warhammer community website. I am super excited to talk about Genestealer cult. It's one of those factions that I truly love, and so a new codex is a time for celebration. Of course, if you want to see more Art of War content, make sure you like this video, share with your friends, subscribe, and keep your eyes peeled. As soon as that Codex Genestealer cult, as well as Sisters of Battle, is going up on pre-order, we'll have some reviews right up on this very YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe now so that you get notified when those go live. So in this video, I'm going to be going through every rule previewed by Games Workshop on Warhammer Community that covers the new Codex Genestealer cult. But before we dive in, I'm going to hit you with a quick promo for our wonderful sponsor, the Army Painter.
When we need to prepare for a competitive event, our go-to company is the Army Painter.
Thanks to their complete range of paints, spray cans, and gaming tools, we're able to complete our new armies and units in no time.
When we need to elevate the quality of our models and terrain, the Army Painter is always our first choice.
You may not know this, but the Army Painter has sponsored more competitive events than any other hobby company.
Tournament and wargaming is in their DNA.
Visit thearmypainter.com to learn more about their amazing products.
And use promo code AWPaints for a 5% discount from your Army Painter purchases.
What are you waiting for? Discover the best way to prepare your models for events with the Army Painter today.
And we're back. Let's go ahead and delve into the shadows and talk about some Genestealer cult goodies. Again, I'm really excited to just kind of find out what GW has cooking up for us. I think new codex, we've seen a lot of different codexes in 10th edition that have all been, well, pretty exciting. So here we are. We've got the first Warhammer community article. There's actually two to go through. This one is talking about Brood Brothers. I'm a GSE player. I'm a guard player. I kind of like both. I'm actually a guard player because of the old Brood Brother rules that Genestealer cult had. My army journey went from Tyranids to Genestealer cult to guard, and somehow that gatewayed into me playing all of the Imperium armies. But Brood Brothers has a special place in my heart. So let's go ahead and talk about this detachment. Well, this is basically saying that we've got a whole detachment in the Genestealer cult codex that's going to focus on the Brood Brother Auxilia. And so the points allowance has been doubled. What this means, I assume, is that previously we had a 500 point restriction on you can take this many guard units in your army, in your Genestealer cult army. So you used to be able to take 500 points. So it says it's been doubled. So presumably that means you can take 1,000 points. That's what the math would certainly suggest. So fully half can be Astra Militarum. That means you can take some bigger things like the Baneblade chassis. You can take just a lot more guard if you want to. And this says you can take the same things as before. So you can't take Commissars, Scions, Valkyries. Before, you also couldn't take units such as Bulgrin and Ogrin. You also couldn't take Epic Heroes, as you'd expect. But it implies you can take the same things before, so there's plenty of good options. Traditional units to take in Genestealer cult before were like Catachans, In Chimeras, Kazarkin, Hellhounds, Scout Sentinels, cheap little things like that that were all very valuable. Now, what they do give us is the detachment rule. So in the Brood Brother detachment, and there is a little asterisk here that we'll be covering in a moment, and you can take integrated tactics. So each time an Astra Militarum unit from your army is selected to shoot, select one enemy unit within 18 and visible to that unit. Basically what this is saying is when you shoot a guard unit, if you decide not to split your fire, you can pick that enemy unit within 18, and then you give it the Genestealer cult portion of your army +1 to hit. So the detachment rule seems to benefit Astra Militarum units by letting them buff Genestealer cult units. So it very much is promoting, if you take this detachment, you want a little bit of both. But some Genestealer cult units, such as, Acolytes, Neophytes, all have relatively lukewarm ballistic skill characteristics. And so a +1 to hit is genuinely a nice buff to have, as well even some of the car things like Goliaths and Ridge Runners, all the vehicles, they're going to appreciate that as well. So this is a noticeable buff, which is nice. +1 to hit. This does appear to be shooting only, so no surprise. The guard-themed detachment is going to lean into guard. Certainly I'd expect to see some combat buffs later on. Now, they also give us a stratagem, actually two, for this detachment. First, we have in the Shadow of Iron. This is in any phase after an enemy unit ends move within 9 inches. and you just target a vehicle and you move that cult ambush marker, your little blip, anywhere from wherever it was, no longer within 9 of the enemy, and now within 6 of that vehicle. So if you have an military vehicle and your opponent tries to pop your blips, you can just whoop, teleport them over real quick and still keep your units. That's kind of nice. This is very much, again, this is like it's a stratagem that targets Astra Militarum, but it's benefiting the Genestealer cult. It very much is promoting the working together part of this. So I think that's, honestly, I think that's pretty cool. I very much think that this is going to be one of those things that is more valuable than it looks. Because right now that doesn't look that valuable, I think, after we've been playing the Genestealer cult index. But objectively, we're used to, just put the blips in the backfield and use Return of the Shadows to get them back into the fight. That's a great strategy for that indexed attachment. But with the Brood Brothers attachment, there's no guarantee that you have access to the same stratagems. So far, really only Space Marines have the shared stratagems between detachments. So I'm kind of assuming that a Brood Brothers attachment isn't going to have any of the tricks we're used to in the index. And that means you might want to place your blips a little bit more aggressively. Well, then your opponent's going to pop them. But if they pop them, maybe you use in the Shadow of Iron to move your blip to a different vehicle, so it's a little bit harder to actually take care of. Next up, we have acceptable losses. This is a 2 command point stratagem. You target an Astra Militarum unit from your army, and you can select one enemy unit with an engagement range of 1 or more Genestealer cult units from your army. And until the end of the phase, you can make range attacks against that enemy unit. If you do so, though, when you're done, you roll a d6 for each Genestealer cult unit that was in engagement range. And on a 5+, the unit being rolled for suffers d3 plus 1 mortal wounds. So this is a useful stratagem to shoot into combat, which is great if you ever have a big incentive not to fall back. Theoretically, that would be with a Genestealer cult combat unit, although it would also be useful if your friendly Genestealer cult units were like vehicles that want to stay still and use big guns every time to shoot, but you wanted to shoot at the infantry in combo with them. That could be pretty useful. 2 CP, get 1 Astra Militarum unit. It is 1 Astra Militarum unit, which is 2 CP for one thing to shoot. It's not the worst. It's not the best, honestly. I can't claim to be incredibly excited about this one. I will say there's a small little bother I've got on it. I think this is backwards. I really feel like this should be 1 Genestealer cult unit can shoot at something in combat with an Astra Militarum unit. I feel like this should be reversed. And that's because logically it makes sense to me that the brainwashed Astra Militarum guys who accidentally made eye contact with a Genestealer in a back alley, they're completely enslaved to the cult. Why are they shooting when they can risk hitting the cult? Now, I think it would make sense if maybe the Genestealer cultists don't value the Astra Militarum that much. Because, hey, they're not even like, they weren't even born cultists. They're like hypnotized or infiltrated. They're maybe a little bit lower on the pecking order than some of the actual, born from hybrids. But I don't know. I feel like this could have gone either way. And I think it'll still be a pretty decent stratagem. Now, as we keep going, we do have another stratagem. And of course, we'll just highlight this, a picture of the absolutely beautiful new Brood Brother models. This appears to be a conversion kit of the existing plastic Cadian kit that's going to be coming out in a Kill Team box sometime soon. Again, absolutely gorgeous. I cannot wait to paint some of these. The Guard Genestealer cult aesthetic just makes me very happy. So, regimental reinforcements. Now we're getting a little spicy. So in your opponent's shooting phase or in the fight phase, after an Astra Militarum infantry regiment unit, excluding artillery and characters, is destroyed, that infantry unit can be targeted, and it can, on a 3+, be placed into Cult Ambush. So this is very simple. You get to make a 3+ roll for a command point for a Guard infantry unit. Something like Kazakhan coming back on a 3-up is actually quite nice. Now, one of the, the normal themes of Genestealer Cult is bringing back their units with Cult Ambush. That roll is sometimes a 3+. If you're taking it on a battle line unit in the first 2 battle rounds under the current rules, no reason to think that that's changed. We're going to come back on a 3+, but then on turns like 3, 4, 5, at the moment, that's a 4+. So a 3+ all the time, you do pay a command point, but it can be used on Guard units. I a little bit hate that it is just like, it's a dice roll, right? You can spend a CP, roll a dice on a 1 or 2, nothing happened, and you just wasted your CP. But honestly, I actually like this stratagem a decent amount. It said above that you can take the same units as normal. You can currently take Kazakhan. So if you can take Kazakhan, put them in Brood Brothers still, and then on a 1 CP on a 3+, bring them back, Well, guard players have been very happy to spend 2 CP to guarantee bringing them back. So 1 CP to a 3 plus bring them back, I don't mind at all. Again, it'll be coming back as a blip, but I actually think that assuming the blip rules work the same way as before and we don't have the index rules in this detachment, maybe a little more aggressive blip placement and then using that above stratagem to move the blips around, there could be some cool combos here. I'm really excited to see what this total detachment looks like once we have all the information. All right, now they did put a couple of quick notes in here. So including the fact that we're going to have some a look at the tank busting psychic powers of the Benefactus. That'll be in the next article that I'm going to cover in about 30 seconds. And it also says Brood Brother units can now only be taken in this detachment. So there is a downside here. You can't take guard allies in any other detachments. If you want to take guard and GSC mix, it is now this detachment. I think the detachment system of 10th is a good way to be addressing these kind of situations. I would love to see it in the future with more things, but now that we've already seen that, you know, we don't have like a Chaos Guard and Chaos Space Marine detachment, I think GSC is still the best place to put it. But, well, we'll just kind of have to wait and see what else this is going to look like. And that's it for this article. So let's swoop on over, and we've got the next article from Warhammer Community, more Genestealer Cult goodness. Let's dive right in. So we start off with a couple of new detachments. This is going to take us through the next 3 new detachments. It doesn't look like it's going to cover the index, but there are 3 more detachments to talk about. First up, we have the Xenocreed Congregation. So this is very much seems to be, I mean, you know, big picture of a Magus, seems to be the culty one. We'll kind of see. And the game plan is to defend the cult leaders. Okay, this is very much the cult aspect. You know, it's a congregation of Genestealer cults. And the key units are the Magus Primus Icon Ward. So let's see what that actually means. The detachment rule says that while there is a Acolyte, Hybrid, or Neophyte attached to a character, you can reroll advances and charges. I like that. I like advance and charge rerolls. I like it even more if you can find an advance and charge. We'll see if they actually cover that. But this is one of those things that doesn't sound great and is actually very practically useful on the table. I actually quite like this rule. Then those characters, if they are a Magus Primus Icon Ward, okay, those are the key units that they said, they get a 3+ feel no pain while leading that unit. So very hard to snipe out those models in the same activation for leading unit, but they'll presumably go back to being squishy once the unit's dead. So this is a good detachment for flooding the field with hordes of Acolyte Hybrids, Neophytes, and Hybrid Metamorphs. This honestly kind of sounds like Pauper Princes to me. That's like the adaptation of Pauper Princes into the new edition. Stratagems, enhancements, all boost these units, such as these 2 rules here. Okay, let's see what it is. Xenocreed Congregation, deeds that speak to the masses. That's a kind of a fun name. This is for a Magus Primus Icon Ward. Okay, they really like those characters. And once per turn, when rolling for a battle line unit, if your bear is on the battlefield, re-roll the result. This is really nice. Just tethering 1 dice roll to, does my Acolyte squad with bombs come back? Does my Neophyte with seismic cannon come back? It feels bad. So getting to reroll on, it is battle line only, so it is just those 2 things. But that is a good roll, and it's once per turn. So you get 1 reroll. You can get up to 10 rerolls, so you're unlikely to lose the battle line in every single player turn. I still quite like this rule. I think that this is very, very interesting to me. Next, we have a stratagem, Vengeance for the Martyr. And this is in your opponent's shooting phase or fight phase after an enemy destroys a Genestealer Cult character. Basically, your army gets reroll 1s to hit. But if they kill a Magus Primus Acolyte, you can reroll the hit roll instead. This is nice. At the moment, it's a little bit redundant with the Primus. But something I've noticed playing as and against Genestealer Cult is that Genestealer Cult units drop down with the characters and they do really well. They do their thing and then they die and then they come back. Great. When they come back, they don't have the characters. Again, that's current Cult Ambush. I see nothing to indicate that that's changed, so I'm going to assume it hasn't until I see otherwise. We'll find out soon. And so sometimes I see like Primus squad goes in, it rerolls hits, it kills its thing, it dies, it comes back to life, it goes, hits the next target, and it doesn't do nearly as much damage because it's not rerolling hits anymore without a Primus. Well, if they kill that Primus unit, reroll hits against them. Just make it happen. This is an epic deed, but it's only 1 CP. Genestealer Cult is an army that genuinely would like to reroll hits, but again, it's only for Acolytes, Hybrids, and Neophytes. So just those 3, not your Aberrants, not your Ridge Runners. You really want to take a lot of these, it seems, if you're playing this detachment. All right, we're on to the next. This is the detachment I'm probably the most excited for. This is the Biosanctic Brood Surge. Very reminiscent of the Twisted Helix. So, the game plan is to take Biophagous, Aberrants, and Pure Strains and hit people with them. I love Pure Strains. I love Aberrants. I love the Biophagous. Give it to me. We're looking at the detachment rule being Biosanctic Brood Surge, Hypermorphic Fury. Ooh, missed the Hypermorph. So add 1 to charge rolls made for Aberrant, Biophagous, Pure Strain Genestealers units from your army. In addition, each time they're selected to fight, if it made a charge move, +1 to the attacks characteristic of melee weapons equipped by models in that unit. So under current profiles, that would take Aberrants to 4 attacks. That would take Pure Strains to 5 attacks. That is a noticeable buff. And also, I got to say, +1 charge. I love +1 charge. I love +1 charge. That's the best. And if I can find more than 1 +1 charge, I'll spend a CP on that. So really excited for that. And I will say one thing to point out here is the keyword Biophagous units. And all this bonus is +1 to attack characteristic of melee weapons equipped by models in that unit. So this is what it means. You take this Biophagous, you join them to something that is not Aberrants. You attach them to hybrid metamorphs, acolyte hybrids, who knows, something. And now they get this keyword. They have the Biophagous keyword. So now your regular acolyte hybrids are +1 to charge. And they'll be +1 attack. And that I'm very interested in. That I think is really cool. And that's something I really want to see a little bit more of. Now we've got two stratagems to talk about here. First is Gene Twisted Muscle. This is a nice damage output stratagem. 1 CP in the fight phase, you get an Aberrant, Biophagous, or Pure Strain that has not been selected to fight, and it's +1 to wound against monsters and vehicles. Nice and simple. 1 CP, pick one of the 3 units that the detachment is based around, give it +1 to wound against big stuff. Little stuff usually doesn't matter. You know, a Biophagous can pop like Anti-Infantry 2+, or Aberrants are just generally high strength, and Pure Strains are generally a lot of attacks. You can probably shred Infantry anyways. But sometimes those units drop off into monsters' vehicles, and that is a great stratagem to help that out. I'm really excited. I'm really hoping Combat GSC is a very viable build this edition. Combat GSC is how I prefer to play the army, so I very much would like this to be a thing. Fingers crossed that it'll come true. Now we have the Stimulated Biosurge. This is a battle tactic, which is kind of interesting if you could find a way to get a free battle tactic into one of these units. 1 Aberrant, Biophagous, or Pure Strain from your army that has not declared a charge this turn. Each time your unit is declared a charge, if the closest eligible enemy unit is selected as one of the targets of that charge, add 1 to the charge roll for each selected target of that charge, including the closest eligible, to a maximum of +3. So if you charge the closest enemy and nothing else, you're +1 to charge. Wait a minute, your detachment rolls +1 to charge. +2 to charge, baby! Then if you charge 2 things and one of those is the closest thing, +2 to charge, detachment rolls +3 to charge. You could even get this to +4 to charge if you stack the +3 with the +1 for the army rule. And that is a big deal. Failing charges loses games if you're a melee army. And so having a little bit more reliable of a delivery system, I like advance and charge normally, but because Genestealer is sometimes a deep strike army, if you deep struck 10 Aberrants, declared a quick multi-charge, and you had +4 to the charge roll, that is suddenly a charge that you just might make. I don't trust 9s at a deep strike, but a 5? I think I'd be willing to gamble on a 5. That's a lot more palatable to me. Finally, we have the Outlander Claw. Very much reminiscent of the Rusted Claw. And this, especially because there are bikes on it, that's very Rusted Claw. And the game plan is to control the battlefield fast with Adelins, Jackals, and the Achilles Ridge Runner. So let's talk about the detachment roll. Double the OC characteristic of Genestealer Cult mounted and vehicle models from your army. In addition, Jackals can sticky objectives. That's kind of cool. Just sticky objectives. It's a generically good rule. You're probably just going to take 3 Adelan Jackal units in this army, frankly, if you're taking it. But all mounts in a vehicle get double OC. That's genuinely interesting. I think bikes are currently OC1, so they'd go to OC2. I'd actually have to double check that if I'm being honest. And then the vehicles, dedicated transport's usually 2. And then like the Goliath Rock Grinder, I think, is probably 3 at the moment. The Ridge Runner's 2 or 3. But taking those from 2 or 3 to 4 to 6 is genuinely a lot. That means that if a Goliath truck touches an objective, you have to commit something very real to taking it off, right? A Rhino is not going to do it. Just 3, people walking around is not going to do it. And if a Goliath Rock Grinder touches it, a normal 5-man skirmish unit, like 5 jump pack intercessors or 5 scouts, does not contest a Rock Grinder on an objective if that's 6 OC is an investment to take off. I could see that part being kind of useful. This very much seems to be an objective control kind of detachment. Let's see what the rest of it brings. And that's one more stratagem for the article. Along Shadowed Trails. This is after an enemy unit ends a move within 9 inches of a cult ambush marker, you target an Adeline Jackal unit in cult ambush. That's kind of weird. So this seems to be similar to that Brood Brothers stratagem we saw yesterday. You get to move one of that cult ambush marker anywhere that is more than 9 inches from all enemy units, wholly within 6 inches of a battlefield edge. Until the end of the battle, you can select Adeline Jackals to set up using that cult ambush marker. Okay, so when your opponent pops a blip, spend a command point if you have an Adeline Jackal in cult ambush. Now you get to move that blip anywhere near a board edge, anywhere at all, and then you can only use that blip for the bikes. Okay, that's interesting. I kind of like that. I don't know if I like that. I'm going to have to see that one on the table. I think of these 3 detachments, because that is in fact the end of the detachment. And by the way, I do not see the promised Benefactus rules. They promised me Benefactus tank busting psychic powers of the Benefactus, and I see nothing. GW, come on. Show me what the Brain Boy does. I want my stupid cultist brain battery to do something. Let me have it. But that's all the rules here. So Xenocreed, kind of interesting. I like some of these rules. I like reroll events and charges. I love the units being buffed by the Biosanctity Brood Surge. That's the one that I think I want to start on the most. I love Pure Strains and Aberrants so much. I've had a lot of fun playing those throughout the editions. And then a Rusted Claw detachment as well that I think I just need to see a little bit more on. I think I need to see what the bikes actually do, if they have the same data sheet or changes, to see if there's any damage or defense output buffs, because that feels like it's necessary right now. The bike data sheet in the index is a little bit underwhelming as far as Genestealer Cult goes, but it's a new codex. Maybe it's going to be a little bit better. Maybe some of these buffs will be very noticeable. We'll just have to wait on to see on that, and we'll have to wait and see on all of it. Thank you so much for watching this. If you enjoyed this content, make sure that you let us know by giving it a like, sharing it with your friends, subscribing to the channel, leaving a comment. These are all super useful things. And again, as soon as this new Genestealer Cult Codex is on pre-order, we're going to have a lot of content on our website. So make sure that you go both to thewarroom.vhx.tv, a link you can find in the description below, as well make sure that you watch this YouTube channel, because we're going to have a preview and, very likely some games in the week after of the new codexes facing off. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. I'll catch you all next time. Bye-bye.